This presentation is being recorded for future use. In today's presentation, I'm going to focus on 7153 P schedule. I'm going to share my screen at this moment. This is the 7153 P schedule. It is the grant information summary within program. Here is the department name, the department number, the program name, the program number, the fund number, the funding source. This identifies where the source of revenues will be coming from, whether it will be coming from federal, state, other government, or local non-governmental entities. In this instance, this grant is coming from a local. Here is the grant title, the grant number. The grant number begins with G, the department number of 84, and the 3 digits assigned by the grants accounting unit. Since it's a local, it will be L. And the index code also created and assigned by the grants accounting unit. Award period. This is also a reoccurring grant. So because this is a reoccurring grant, the grant period will always start 7/1, in this case 2022, and will end as of 6/30/2023. And the type of grant is a program income grant. Coming down to the next section, it's grant objective. Again, in this section, you need to inform the users and viewers of this budget what the scope of this grant is for and what the intended use of the expenditures and revenue is for this grant. Coming down to the summary by class, again, for fiscal 21 actuals, it will be coming from the department's BO4 report. And I'm going to show you that report right now. Here is the department's BO4 report, and it is the grant, total current year grant activity by division and index code. Here is the central booking fees grant, which that 7153P sheet I am reflecting to. The department has actual or current year expenditures of $76,570. And to confirm that, it's $76,570. Going to go back to the P sheet. So the department is reflecting that on line 400 for equipment. Coming down, the department is reflecting fiscal 21 actual revenues of $81,251. And because there is a difference, it's due to the department shifting from one program to another. So the money is rolling up into the same grant, but just a different division. Moving over to the next section, it is the fiscal 21 original appropriations. This is the adopted amount that the department has budgeted for central booking fees. So they have booked $1 million for class 100. Coming down to class 200, they have booked $750,000. In class 300 for materials and supplies, they have booked $350,000. And in class 400, they have budgeted $400,000 with a grand total of $2.5 million. Coming down to the funding source, again, at the top, we listed that the funding source was local. So summary by funding source, the department will list the total amount of original appropriations as 2.5 million in local non-governmental revenue. Moving over to the fiscal 22 estimated obligations, this is the amount that the department anticipates on spending for the remainder of the fiscal year. So again, for class 100, the department still intends on spending $1 million in class 100 in personnel. Coming down to class 200, the department still anticipates on spending $750,000 in class 200. In class 300, they still anticipate on spending $350,000. In class 400, they still anticipate on spending $400,000, which the total obligations, estimated obligations reported is still $2,500,000. And coming down to the estimated revenues for fiscal 22, the department is still budgeting $2.5 million in locally generated revenue based off of the estimated obligations in section 2 of the summary by class. Moving on to fiscal 23, the department request was $1 million in fiscal 23 for class 100 personnel. Coming down to class 200, they are budgeting $750,000. In class 300, they're budgeting $350,000. And in class 400, they are budgeting $400,000 for a grand total of $2.5 million. Coming down to the fiscal 23 departmental requests, since it's locally funded, the department would report $2.5 million. Since this grant does not have employee benefits or fringe benefits, there is no activity being reported in this section. However, if the department did have fringe benefits, they would allocate them appropriately from classes 187 to 195. And that total would appear on line 100B for employee benefits. Coming down to the very bottom of this page, the department would budget positions if they had positions associated with this grant. The information would come from the actual increment run report as of 6/30/2021, which represents 0 positions budgeted. For fiscal 22 budgeted positions, the department did not budget positions for this grant. For the increment run pay period ending 11/28/2021, the department did not have positions budgeted for this particular grant. And for their fiscal 23 budget, the proposed amount of positions, they did not budget any positions for fiscal 23. Once the department completes their 7153P, they would then move to all their information or all their grant detail for program, in this case, program 19. They would come to their 7153F schedule, and they would link the appropriate cells based off of personal services for fiscal 21 actuals, fiscal 22 original adopted appropriations, fiscal 22 estimated obligations, based off of their intended spending for the remainder of the fiscal year and fiscal 23 proposed request for the upcoming fiscal year. After they would insert a link in those respective cells, they would move down to class 200 and they would pick all the activity up from the P schedules for program 19. And in this instance, there's no activity for class 200 in actuals for this program, but you would still put a link in there also, just as a safeguard, just in case there is any type of activity that needs to be reported. You would come over to the fiscal 22 original appropriations or adopted appropriations, and you would pick up that cell concerning class 200, or you could copy the fiscal 21 actual obligation cell and copy that over for fiscal 22 original appropriations, fiscal 22 estimated obligations based on their anticipated spending, and fiscal 23 proposed budget request, or fiscal 23, excuse me, proposed budget request. Once those formulas are set, you can copy those formulas down to classes 300 and 400. And that information will populate in the appropriate cells. Coming down to the total again would be $76,570 for actuals for this grant. For adopted for 22 original appropriations, it would be $2.5 million. The department's estimated obligations or anticipated spending for the remainder of the year would be $2.5 million. And their fiscal 23 proposed budget request would be $2.5 million. Again, if there was any budgeted positions for this grant, the department would link all P sheets with some budgeted positions in the appropriate cells. Moving down to the select associated non-revenue type, because this grant is a local grant, the department would get the information from the local section of all P sheets. In this case, it was only one P sheet, so the department is picking up the entire row of central booking fees in the amount of $81,251 for actuals, $2.5 million for fiscal 22 original budget, fiscal 22 estimated revenues or anticipated revenues received of $2.5 million, and a budgeted fiscal 23 request of $2.5 million. Going back to the 7153 F schedule, that information is now being reflected accordingly. Not only would you input this information on the 7153 F schedule, you would then in turn go to the 7153 E schedule and come to program summary by all funds. Here is where you have a list of all funds associated with this program. In earlier presentations, we focused on the general fund. In this instance, the department not only has a general fund, but they have a grants fund. So in this instance, they are going to be reflecting fund number 08, the type of fund, which is grants revenue. And they're going to copy the F schedule for summary by fund and copy in the 76,570 for actual obligations, the $2.5 million fiscal 22 original appropriations or adopted, the fiscal 22 estimated obligations or the spending levels that they intend to spend for the rest of the fiscal year of $2.5 million, and the fiscal 22 proposed budget request of $2.5 million. Moving down to the summary of full-time positions by fund, again, on the F schedule, as well as the associated P sheet, the department does not have budgeted positions for the grants revenue fund, so that information is not being reflected here. Moving down to the summary of non-tax revenues by fund, this department only has Fund 08, which is grants for non-taxable revenue by fund. So based off of the 7153 F sheet, they would copy the link for the non-governmental local revenue, and they would pick up $81,251. They would pick up the fiscal 22 original budget of $2.5 million, the estimated obligations for fiscal 22 that they anticipate on receiving of $2.5 million, and the proposed fiscal 23 budgeted amount of $2.5 million. Since this department does not have capital, we do not have to worry about this. And since this department does not have to worry about fringes relating to the grants, the selected associated operating costs would be excluded from the grants revenue P sheets. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I hope that after seeing these particular schedules, you will understand how to generate your P schedules, as well as how those P schedules summarize onto the F schedules and onto the E schedules for the respective programs. If you have any additional questions, you can reach out to your analyst, or you can reach out to myself, Dan Harar, or Andrew Camilla for additional assistance. At this time, I'm going to stop this recording